This is why the world is stuck, because if God is your fuel, he is the gas. And if he's not there, it's worthless. We are creating a world of, yes, high functioning, yes, productive, empty people
Yeah.
who will never be able to fill the hole in their heart.
Welcome back to another episode of the Made to Shine show. This is such a special episode because I have what I expect to be a very new dear friend of mine on, Jen Smith. She is a mama of 3 beautiful girls. She is the podcast host of the Launch Your Rocket podcast. And she's also like what she likes to call a boat girl at heart, which I was shocked she wasn't on her boat today, but that's okay. She's in Florida. Jen, thank you for being on the Made to Shine show today.
Oh my gosh, Annie, thank you so much for having me. I'm so humbled and grateful to be here.
I'm so excited. I know when we were talking before and we were just talking about like the audience that Made to Shine kind of targets. And I think what you're doing with your podcast, with your work, with your books, with just being a light of Christ by example for the lives of your girls. I was telling you, like, we have a generation that's so on fire for the Lord, which I adore, but we need wisdom. We need to know from those that have walked the path for way longer than we have, kind of what it means to be consistent, what it means to be faithful, what it means to be loyal. So I'm so honored to have you on and humbled to have you on. Before we dive into our list of questions, and this one is going to throw you by surprise, but it's a tradition on the show.
Let's do
The
it.
question I always start people off with is, Jen, what is your favorite quote and why?
Oh gosh. Oh, I have so many. I mean, I don't know if it's my favorite, but 356 is on my necklace, which is kind of my numbers, which is trust in the Lord with all of your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all of your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And my daughters for Christmas just got me a necklace that says 356 because nobody really knows what it is, but if you know, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Really a quote, but it's a verse in the Bible, and it's just a reminder every day.
Well, I love that verse. Proverbs 356, right?
It's Proverbs, yeah.
Yeah. So what I love about that's actually something my husband and I have been talking about so much, because even in this world, in this generation, I feel like people are like, can I screw up the plans God has for me? Am I powerful enough to mess it up? And that verse has brought me such comfort. And so I love that you have just literally written that and you have that like on your heart.
It applies to everything. I think every single thing we could possibly speak about today falls, and I hope we get to that. I'm sure we will, why it falls into that. And I think it kind of can launch anybody who's lukewarm if they really understand why it means so much to me. So hopefully it'll come out as we go, you know?
Well, I love that you use that word lukewarm, because when I see you and your passion for Christ, and it's like you are the most opposite thing of lukewarm I've ever seen in my life. Like, you are on fire, you are so passionate, and I love it. But there are people out there that are either they are Christians, but they're like, man, I wish I had that fire that Jen has, or people that don't know the Lord, but they're like, I want to be that passionate about something. And so to take us back, when I was on your website, I loved when I saw this, because I've said this about myself so often, but you mentioned how growing up, it was like you were too worldly for the church, but too churchy for the world. And kind of just give us some context for a second. Like, Jen Smith, when and how were you introduced to faith? And what did that dynamic look like and play out in regards to how you got to the person you are now with the faith that you have?
Well, I think God had a plan for me in the womb, because I came out like really with a desire to know the Lord. But I think it probably went in pillars, kind of in high school. Like I was kind of the girl who I was kind of at the cool table. God had me at the cool table. Like I was put together, and I was a Division I athlete, and
What did you play?
had a field hockey.
Okay, I played
You're
tennis.
a tennis player. Yeah, I know. All my girls are athletes, so I looked in. I knew you played tennis.
So
but
cool.
I was a girl who really was popular, but wanted so bad to sit at the other table. I was so drawn not to those people, but I loved those people because they were my friends, because birds of a feather flock together. And when you're young, that's what you do. But my heart was always for the other table. And then I think going into like parenting, the next pillar was like seeing my children go through school and having the church be like, don't go to parties. Right. And I had cool girls, right? My one daughter's a 4-time All-American. She was on the US. I mean, these are cool girls.
Yeah.
Cool in the world's terms, let's just say, right? They fit the box, so you would think. But then you'd go to the church, don't go to the parties, and you'd go to the parties, and those people were like, I'm not going to youth group. So
Mm.
I was always like, no, no, no. If we really read the word, we're supposed to put on the armor of God and go into those places like Jesus did. And I just think that if the people from, group went to church, they'd be nervous putting their hands in the air. And the people from church were uncomfortable at the party. So I really felt like God had me there. And then in my business, I have a company I was doing something with isogenics. And I share this because God really, when you look back,
I did isogenics.
hmm,
Did this is like my mom and I spoke on isogenic
that's
state
funny.
one year.
Okay, so you may know me.
That's so wild. I didn't put it together. Okay, but no,
That's
I love isogenics.
So
Great.
what's really cool, especially because you did isogenics, is that industry.
Yeah.
Okay, it's an industry of me, me, me. It's like the let them industry.
Yes, it
Okay,
is. It
and
is.
I'm a love them. I'm not a let them. So when I went in there, they wanted me to it was all about what can make me money and all this stuff. And I went in and it just did not resonate with me. And I did nothing that they told me to do. I went off on my own. I never knew anybody in the company. And I went to the number one income earner in less than a year. And when I went on stage that year to get the award, because you were there, you were a star.
I tried to put this on. What year was this?
Oh no, maybe you probably weren't even born.
Oh, okay, maybe not.
I mean, not really. I don't know.
This is so wild.
2009 to 2015, maybe.
Okay, gotcha. I really started my business from 2018 to 2023
Okay.
was the years I did. Okay.
So funny. But I think Kathy Coover, was she there at the time,
Mhm.
was kind of enamored by what I was doing and they couldn't understand it. So I ended up doing my own thing and calling it ISA JENIX instead of ISA GENIX. And it was all about giving and serving and loving. Annie, God had me in isogenics doing that because he wanted to show me that when the let them theory came around, that it's exactly what I needed to do. Because back then it was the 9-day program, right? It's a nutrition program. I knew if I could just get people to do that 9-day program, every girl, whether she's 98 pounds soaking wet or not, wants to lose 5 pounds. So I knew if I could get her to lose some weight and just love her for the 9 days, she could then want to be healthy. And he was just showing me then how I was going to love people now to get them to know him. So it was so amazing.
Wow.
And the success that he showed me was simply to show me that in this phase of my life, when it was time for him to launch lives, that I could do it. So it was amazing. And, that's where it brings me now. And then I saw a reel about 7 months ago of this let them theory. And my girls said to me, Annie, I'll never forget it. They were like, oh, let them. And they were laughing. And I was like, okay, here are girls who know the Lord. I'm like, are you really drinking that Kool-Aid? Like, it's not let them, guys, it's love them. And all of their friends were talking about it. And I was like, I felt this rush of, I prepared you, it's time. And I'm telling you right now, with you and I together, I'm telling you.
Yep.
This is a mission to flip the world. It is so increased. It's drinking the Kool-Aid. And, the industry, the self-help right now is an inch from truth, right? Everything is good.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with high-fiving yourself in the mirror. There's nothing wrong with drinking a green juice. But really,
it's so true. But what I love about what you're saying, and first, I just have to say what's so cool about your story. I cannot believe the isogenics overlap. I cannot believe I did miss that because, hello, that was a big start of my story. And I'm no longer doing isogenics, but big start of my story. And like you said, there's so many overlaps. And it reminded me when you said God was teaching you then kind of a principle of what you'd be doing now. It's like Peter and fishing and how Jesus was said, one day you will fish for men.
okay.
And
Okay, Annie, I love you so much. Okay, that is everything because I am a certified boat captain and everything in my life is fishing. I cannot wait until the world gets a hold of not me, it's God, but my testimony, because I think anybody who sees the testimony of my life will be like, oh my gosh. And you don't know it walking through, but looking back, I'm a boat captain. I am obsessed with fishing. What female? Like my family's like, what is wrong with you?
it's very unique.
Because God, my whole life was
Wow.
like, it's a breadcrumb trail, right? But looking back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder it's all about fishing because you want me fishing for men. So it's like this big rush of it all came to head like 8 months ago. Now, Anybody back in the isogenics days knew this was going to happen. I manifested this. I told them back then that God is using me. It's using all of us for a time in the future. I know it. The time is not right. And now everybody's like, it's just an amazing testimony. And it's all God, because I'm not capable of any of this.
So, okay, so take us, so 8 months ago, was this when, are you referring to when you say your testimony, like the let them theory coming out and then realizing to let them love them, which I want to get into, or kind of what do you mean when you say 8 months ago?
Well, 8 months ago, I didn't know how to record. I didn't have a social media platform. I didn't have a computer. I don't know how to do any of this. I didn't know what Google Drive was. About 8 months ago, YouTube, all of this stuff. So I'm not capable of that. Now I have a website, I have a YouTube, a Spotify, and it's completely in God's hands. He's saying, okay, the time is now. And he's giving me the tools and the wisdom and the people and the opportunity. People don't get it. He leaves a breadcrumb trail. And if you're just paying attention, you pick up the pieces, and
Yep.
he provides, right?
Yep.
If he gives you the vision, Annie, he gives you the provision.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
Love
can
that.
discern that the vision is from him, because that's where I think the world has a little bit of problem, well, a little trouble, right? But if you could really bring it to him and discern, and then you say, okay, then all of a sudden it's like a runway, right?
Yeah.
It's like the people, the opportunity. It's like and then you just start giving and loving and serving and doing stuff like this, and like abundance rains down from the sky. It's amazing. And when I say abundance, because he knows you will take care of it. He will provide so that you then will provide. Annie, it is so bright. The sun just came in. I have to shut this.
You're fine. Go shut it. Go shut it. You look great, but go shut it. You're totally fine. I'll put a little tick that I'll clip it right here.
Okay.
No, this is great. Okay, back on. But no, I think what's so interesting, and I want to talk to you a little bit about your journey with self-help, because a lot of your YouTube videos are kind of centered around like bridging faith and current day psychology, which I think self-help kind of falls under that category a little bit. And what's fascinating is, so a little bit about my story. I was a psych major in college. Same time, like isogenics is what I did in college to make money, because at the time I couldn't be sponsored as an NCAA athlete, right? Now that's changed, unfortunately, but in my day, I couldn't. So isogenics helped me make money in college. I fell in love with personal growth and self-development, like Ed Milet, Brendan Burchard, I mean, Tony Robbins, you name it. Like I was Mel Robbins, like devouring this stuff. And my first book I wrote was a self-help book. It was called Be Your Own Hero. And what's so fascinating is like, if you look at my book, so I have 7, but if you look at like, for me, they're so special to me because they show the journey of my faith. And what started as a Be Your Own Hero, I like look back and I'm like, I wish I could change that title to where it's like, Jesus is our hero. Like we don't have to be our own hero. But I say that because I think that there's 2 narratives around self-help, and there's even like a Christian self-help section. And that's what I kind of want to distinguish here, because what I mean by that is there's the typical self-help, which is secular, like if it's meant to be, it's up to me. But then sometimes we, like believers in Christ, we kind of project our self-help beliefs and we put it under this umbrella of Christianity and what it means to be a believer. Like I have to do these things to make God love me, or I have to do these things to make sure I'm in the will of God. And what would you say are the like differences between that narrative and like what it means to just be submitted to the Lord, be surrendered to the Lord, but also be taking personal responsibility for whatever he's put in front of you to steward?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and really deep, because it's almost hard to understand, right? You don't know what you don't know if you haven't walked at all or you don't understand the word. And I think the answer is going to be so similar in almost anything we could talk about. And it's the more you understand the word and the more you're in the word, the more you recognize and you fall in love with God. You start to see. I'm not even going to start naming verses, because if somebody doesn't believe, it doesn't matter. I could say, God is your help. You don't need yourself. Like let go and let God and all this stuff. But if they don't really believe it, it's just lip service. And you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But the more you get to know him, it just oozes. And the only thing I'm going to say is you have to give yourself grace in the process. People are walking through in different phases, but when it clicks, when you fully believe the word of God, and you really truly believe what it says, and you hear him say it's God help, not self-help, everything changes. But here's the thing, Annie. Everything in the Bible is the opposite of self-help. Everything. I mean, everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, look at Ephesians. It's like lies versus truth, and revenge versus forgiveness,
Mm.
and bitterness versus every single thing is the reverse. And it's everything is either self-help or it's God help. So
Yeah.
it's one or the other. But I mean, if I'm understanding your question, the question is kind of hard, because you're saying, as a Christian, am I still relying on self-help? Is that
Yeah, or just like, and maybe to rephrase it, just like the ways you think we get those narratives confused at times. Like, what does it mean to fully rely on God's help? And what are those lines between? I think I struggle with this sometimes. Like, okay, am I fully relying on God here? Or is there a part of me that's trying to control the situation? Or is there, like, what's my role? Right?
Mhm.
Because, like, also, like you said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Like, what's my role in
And
what
you're an
God can do
athlete,
in my life? You know?
and you're an athlete, right? And every
Yeah,
time we put, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, are we really saying, yeah, I want to score that touchdown, or I want to win the game?
yeah.
So there is that part of you, I think, that's like, what am I in control of? But I think the best practice I've ever done is think of, do you ever see that movie 50 First Dates?
Yes, I love that movie.
So they wake up every day and there's forget everything, right? Can you imagine if you lived like that? Imagine you woke up in the morning and you literally had nothing, like nothing. You woke up and you're just laying in a bed and you don't think you have a family, nothing. And then all of a sudden you look down and you go, oh my gosh, I can walk. You'd be like, thank you so much, right?
Wow.
Somebody hands you a cup of coffee and you'd be like, oh my God, think of how differently you would feel about that cup of coffee. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like, a daughter walks in the room and you're like, oh my God, I have family. I think when you can switch your heart to a heart that really believes everything is from Him in that moment,
Mm,
I think it changes everything for you and you can
that's
surrender knowing. And I mean, again, I think your question is a tough one. You know what? Maybe I'm not understanding it
no, no,
exactly.
no. You answered it perfectly. Even the way so I went through a lot of health challenges last year. And it's funny because I think I used to wrestle with this so much, like, Lord, what is my productivity role here? And where do I stop? And what does faith look like? Does it look like writing this book and giving it to you, or does it look like not writing a book and just having a season of,
All right, I'm going to stop you just for a second because I pull back. I'm starting to understand what you're asking me a little bit more. And I kind of take it back. You have to surrender. It's all from Him. And it's kind of like in isogenics, Annie. When I was in isogenics, yes, I set goals, right? I
right?
set long-term goals, mid-range goals. Okay. So set your goals. Here's what I believe a Christian should do. You pray, you ask, you seek, make sure it's your discernment, you write it down, right? Habakkuk 2:2, write it down on tablets. Yeah, we thought vision boards were like a worldly thing. They're in the Bible, right? Same
Yeah.
with dreams, right? It says, without a vision, we perish. Okay. So we're supposed to dream. That's why people are so stuck, because they're not dreaming. So we have a dream, we write it down. That's cool. That people think, okay, I'm doing that. No, you're not. God, I told you, if He gives you the vision, He gives you the provision, right? You feel like it's self help, but it's not. It's God help because you asked. So now you have this long term goal. Then you have to get busy loving and serving people.
Mm,
Period. I was successful in isogenics because I couldn't have cared less if I made $1. And you know it, it's a nutrition program. My greatest builder came from like an 85-year-old woman who could do nothing for me. Nothing. All she did was talk about her ailments. The company would have said, not a builder, not a builder. I spent so much time with her and loved her so much that I got one of my greatest builders from her. I wouldn't even have done isogenics, Annie. I wasn't interested in the money. And a man came, I got a letter from a guy who said he was going to take his life. And as a result of me serving and loving him and losing weight, he now would live. I had no interest in the money. And what do you think happened? I had the long term goal. which
Yeah.
is interesting. And I don't want to talk too much about isogenics, but I was turning, you understand it,
Yeah.
zero cycles, meaning I was making no money. I went to an event and all the important people were sitting in the front, right? And I was like, I'm an act as if. So I knew nothing about anything, sat right next to them, and I tapped a man on the shoulder and I said, excuse me, they're talking about what we should come back as. They're stars, 1 through 5. What's realistic if I've just got here? And he's like, oh, come back as a 3-star. All right, athlete to athlete. Yeah, don't tell me it's a 3-star. So I wrote down 5-star.
It's amazing.
So then I got in the elevator with Jim Coover, who he didn't know me for a hole in the wall at the time. And I said, hi, I just want to let you know my name is Jen Smith. I'm going to be your top earner. I'm coming back next year. And he was like, yeah, okay. That was the end of it. So listen, God had me there and he wanted me to do something big. So he and I set a big goal. I really was discerning. And then when I went home, I didn't do what the company wanted me to do. I didn't go find people to make me money. I went and loved and served and gave and poured into people, and God sent the rain. So I'm all about vision, but he brings you the vision. You've got to trust that he's going to bring the provision. Here's another thing, if I may, Annie. And this is when it comes to what I'm doing right now. I have a course. I'm not here to like, ooh, she has a course. I have a course. And Mel Robbins just came out with it yesterday. I came out with it first, just so you know. So I have a course and I am hemorrhaging money in the beginning to try and do this. Like, this is not like, I'm not interested in money. If I make it, I want to give it away. The minute my husband's like, why don't you just charge and try and make some money? The minute, with God as my witness, the minute I step away from the word and I start figuring out how can I make money? What if I optimize my SEO? This wisdom, motivation, vision, inspiration, it just goes dry. It dries up. God keeps me on the path when I'm in cahoots with him.
Yeah.
When I'm in his word, and then you'll see me in the word and I'm just so overwhelmed with inspiration and ideas come to me. That's when I rate my best podcasts and my best things. And the minute I step away and Tom's like, hey, why don't you try and put him? I'm like, I have nothing to say.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
I hope that answers it better. So I do believe in the vision and the dream, but then I really do believe you've got to let go and you've got to let God. You've got to put it all on him. He will bring, it's like that movie. If you've seen Facing the Giants, I'm sure you have.
Yes, that's a classic.
That scene where they're walking down the hallway and the coach is like forcing it, right? And he talks about the fields and there's 2 farmers and they have to farm. I'm going to botch this, but there's 2 farmers and they have to tend their fields and they have to trust that God is going to bring the rain. If they trust he's going to bring the rain, they soil their fields. It's the same thing. Like, I just know, when you know that God is going to bring the rain, you live for him, you serve for him. And oh my gosh, he just, everywhere I go, it's like, oh, I met Annie Mayfield. Like, he brings the vision, he brings the provision, he brings the people, he brings the opportunity, and he brings the ideas.
Yep.
People hold on too tight and lose hey, that's in the Bible, right? Hold on too tight and you lose it all.
Yeah.
Water people, it's all over the Bible. And then you think, oh, wow, Jen, that's really wise. No, it's littered in the Bible. Give and it will be given unto you. Pour unto others and he will pour. I mean, it's everywhere. And then you're like,
so true.
Yeah. And then self-help grabs hold of it and they say some guy slaps a sticker on it from Harvard and all of a sudden science says that if you give, you feel more fulfilled. It's like,
no, and then it catches up. No, it's so true. But it's so, I think for me, like, my journey was self-help. And, it's so funny because at first it worked. I mean, it did. Like, I was a very anxious college athlete and self-help books made me like, I built more confidence. I built more stamina. I built more chutzpah, like, until it didn't. And what's so wild is, and obviously looking back, this is, the tail road itself, but someone once told me it's like, if self-help doesn't lead to spiritual dependency, you haven't helped yourself enough. Or it was like, if self-awareness hasn't led to spiritual dependency, because I think there's such an emphasis on self-awareness nowadays and self-awareness. But I think, like, even then what that does, and this is what insecurity does, is it keeps us looking at ourselves. And even all throughout the Bible, like, you read the Psalms, when David was at his darkest moment, he didn't go to his stickers on the mirror that said, I am beautiful, I am strong. He said, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me, he went back to who God is. And I think that that's where like a message like this message to especially this younger generation where we are so impressionable right now in the ways we think about ourselves in the world. It's like we are so focused on who we are and us being enough. But it's like
Yeah.
the reason God tells Moses his name is I am is because I think he knows that was going to be the question of our life is who am I? And he wants us to know the answer to that is who he is and looking at who he is. And that sustains us for whatever he's called us to do in the fashion he's called us to do it, you know?
You nailed it though, Annie, because you're right. You were productive. See, the self-help
Yeah.
reason it's so dangerous, Annie, is because it's only an inch from truth.
Yeah.
But that inch from truth keeps everybody a mile from freedom. Why do you think everybody's stuck? This whole me, do what makes me happy, it's like a shiny car, right? So it's like everybody has this shiny car and they have nice waxed leather seats and they're all taking selfies and sending it to their friends and look at me, and then there's no gas in the car. You will never go anywhere. This is why the world is stuck, because if God is your fuel, he is the gas, and if he's not there, it's worthless. We are creating, and you said it, it's helpful. So yes, we are creating a world of yes, high functioning, yes, productive, empty people.
Yeah.
Who will never be able to fill the hole in their heart. This is why you see, why is it, and this is in the Bible, and I never know what verse it is, by the way. I just know the stuff. That was another gift God gave me. Bad memory, because I have to keep learning. But sees degrees, he did that for a reason, because the best teacher is a slow learner. See, every single thing, everything he did in my life was for a reason. I know why he made it challenging for me, because he wanted me to know what it feels like to need to break it down, and that's why he
I
has me
love
here.
that.
And see, I'm also ADD. So what was I saying? I don't even know where we were going with that.
It was we were just talking about how like self-help it did like it's an inch from truth. So that's the risk is that
Creating high functioning people. They're high fiving themselves in the mirror and they're crying in the shower. And it's a hole that they will never be able to fill.
yeah.
And there's that saying in the Bible. That's where I was going. You know, why are there so many people that are have so much money and they're so poor? And then there's some poor people that have great wealth. And that's what we're living in right now. We're a bunch of, you know, and here's where I think a lot of viewers will tune out if you're lukewarm. They think they have to give up one for the other.
Ooh, let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah. They think they have to, in order, I think everybody believes in God. They do. You know how I know? What's the date? What
What's
year are we in? What year are we in?
2025
What is that?
since Christ.
So
Isn't that right?
even the atheists every single day acknowledge Jesus Christ. So yeah. So
Yeah.
the whole world, God put it in here. Every single person. Why do you think people are always screaming about truth? Because they're convicted, because everybody in their heart knows truth. God put it in our hearts. We all know truth. So,
Yeah, that's good.
you know, anyway. So
No, that's great. I think it was so that reminds me of this verse. Ugh, I'm gonna botch again. I know it, but I don't know the verse. It's like, but God has put eternity in their hearts, but only God knows what he has put from beginning to end. Like none of us know the future, but he has put eternity in our hearts. And I think what's so powerful about that is, like you said, all of us have this longing. You see this in secular culture, you see this in kind of agnostic culture. You see, but everybody kind of has this like, what's going on? Why am I here? We all have those moments in our life. And I think that the reality of it is with the Lord, even in this day and age, I would say, and I was looking at some research on this the other day and someone was doing a podcast about it, but there's less people that would say there is no God. But the challenge nowadays is, well, which one's right? And a lot of people fall under the assumption it's all sort of the same thing. You know, it's like Hindu and Islam and Christianity, it's all the same God. And like that's the risk we're running today with all the information out there.
here's my response. Have they ever read anything about it? People are just hopping on the bandwagon. And here, I think I know why they won't. And it's what we said a minute ago. They think they have to give up one for another. People think that means I'm going to have to, like, they have to totally uproot their life. Like they have to shave their head, become a nun, I don't know, join a monastery and give up all their possessions. Like that's the problem is my generation.
Mhm.
That's how we raised people to think, right? And
Mm.
it's just ridiculous. I say to people that don't know God at all, I'm like, do this in the quiet of your shower to say, yo, dude, I heard this girl and she was saying that I like could have an amazing life if I just follow your plan. Just reveal yourself to me. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then from there, I always say then swap one podcast voice. Swap one voice that you're listening to. Maybe it's the let them theory, but that speaks truth. So you're not just listening to one voice and then maybe it's a song. And you don't have to uproot your life. And
So
I
good.
really think if people didn't think they had to uproot their life, every single person I believe believes. I
Well,
do.
and I wholeheartedly agree. I think, and especially what you're saying about essentially, and we've talked about this before we've started the podcast, but being the light in dark spaces, like we're called to be the light of the world, a city on a
Mm.
hilltop.
Oh my gosh.
And that is in, yeah.
And you know what, Annie? They don't, our generation did a terrible generation explaining to people what you get when you follow Jesus. They don't get it. So this is why if I know I keep bringing that up, but
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about
because it teaches you to manage feelings, right? To manage anger and bitterness and jealousy and just let them. And okay, they don't realize that when you have God, He takes those away. See, people don't get that. People don't believe and they don't know what they don't know. Do you mean to tell me that He takes away my feelings of jealousy? Yes, I don't have a jealous bone in my body. I'm sorry, I don't. He took that from me. See, we say this is the problem of the Bible, of the church, that like puts it in the vault. I just want to say to people, you know, when he says he takes away the sins of the world, do you know what that means? It doesn't mean like he takes, because this is what people think. Oh, thanks, dude. You take away the bad things that I do when I'm not a bad person. Like I don't murder, right?
yeah.
He takes away your feelings of anger. He takes away your feelings. Do you want to feel bitter? Do you want to feel jealous? Do you want to feel comparison? Now, we have a world that wants us to feel those things.
Yeah.
And then they want to teach us to manage them. Let
Right.
them. Put it over there. I don't know. Let those feelings live in a spare bedroom in your house and live rent free. I don't know. Like, right?
Right.
So, and I'm saying it's like the world puts a band-aid on a heart that needs a heart transplant. And after
Mm.
a while, it can't take it anymore, and those feelings spill over into anger and jealousy and pride. When you know God, you don't feel those things. Now, here's what your generation wants. You ready? I get it. I get it. No matter how much I talk about God and say, you want joy and peace. Okay, but people still want to go on vacation. They still want nice things. You still wanted that beautiful white wedding dress. I know. I saw that today, right? So, but what they realize is when you get rid of anger and you get rid of jealousy and you get rid of bitterness, you attract. God gave us a treasure map. He said, follow me, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And we think that, you know, and I'm going all over, but when people just don't get it. They hear there are two commandments: love your God, love the Lord your God with all your heart. And people think, okay, God needs that validation. Like, seriously? No, 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 no. God wants us to love him so
Yeah.
that we read his word. You know why? Because his word is the treasure map that
Mm-hmm.
unlocks. We live in a world that doesn't believe it, so they do self-help. They
Yeah.
try and control it all. And what do? They're left bitter. We live in a world of chaos because people are living off the wrong blueprint. They're living
Yeah.
self-help because they think, who are you, God, to say I have to love the Lord your God? Like, get over yourself. He's like, oh, okay. And that's why he says, he doesn't just hand you the treasure. It says, seek me. Because, and you know, it also says in the Bible, he keeps it from the wise. He keeps it from the academic. He keeps it from the proud and the smart, right? All of the Hollywood, he keeps it from them.
Mm.
Because those who are humble enough to say, I'm going to seek you, it's like the treasure opens.
That's
And then
good.
he
Yeah.
takes away all of those feelings. And what happens? You just said it. You become the light of the world. And light,
Right.
what? Light puts out darkness.
Right.
Why do you think somebody walks in a room? It's like I do a whole piece in my course called Art of Connection. It's just the fruits of the spirit. And people are like, "Oh, so if I like God, I'm going to become a nice person and that's going to attract." No, 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 no. It's not that. It's the fruits. When you have God in you and you really believe that, he takes away your feelings. You're not jealous anymore. So people are attracted. It's just an energy. You shift. So attractive. You shine so bright, people have to wear sunglasses. And what does that do? That attracts the life that they were going to try and chase on their own in the first place. And they were
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
You don't
That's
have to
so
trade
good.
for another. You know what? You think God wants his children to like live meh lives? That is the biggest problem that my generation taught the younger generation. That's ridiculous. People have to get straight with money. God wants us to be rich. He just doesn't want us to serve the riches. But if you serve him first, you love him and you get to know him, he knows you're responsible. He'll give them to you.
That's so powerful. Well, and I think too, because very common scripture verse that I think is comes to mind when people talk about money specifically or whatever have you, is just that parable where, or not the parable, when the guy came up to Jesus was like, "What else do we need to do?" And he was like, "Go sell all of your things and then come follow me." And the guy was like, "Oh no, I have a lot of things." But
Oh,
all that to say, that's a good one. But all that to say, I think that what's so powerful about what you're saying is, exactly right. God doesn't need your money. He wants your heart. And
mhm.
so many of us, money is what controls our heart or our pride or our ego. But something you said that I thought was so key there is being humble before the Lord. And I'm curious for you, like humility versus insecurity, because I'm seeing that in a lot of the women I'm talking to right now that are in the church. They feel like being humble before the Lord is somehow synonymous with them being less and belittling themselves. It's like I have to be less in order to be humble. And I feel like insecurity and humility are not the same thing. And so for you, when you say be humble before the Lord, what would you encourage young women to think of as they're being humble before?
Let's go back to the story that I told earlier about waking up in the morning and you have nothing. You have nothing. And then all of a sudden, you see God, right? You know, and God gives you, and you say, and all of a sudden, your family, I have a family. I have a, when you truly know that every one of those little things, and I do this every morning. I have pictures always with me. These are my kids for, and anything that he's given me, I remind myself that those are from him. And all of a sudden, it's so easy to be humble. Like the cup of coffee is from him. Like the wisdom that I have right now,
Right.
if there is any, it's from him. It's impossible for me to be prideful because I think every word that comes out of my mouth is from him. And when you really get to know him, and those people who think you have to be meek, I went through that, and you give yourself grace. God doesn't care where you are on the walk. All you have to do is say, "Hey, God, I'm open. I believe in you. I love you." And you're done. You're in. People have to
Yeah.
stop thinking they have to get
Yeah.
right. So it's okay. I was there. It was when my daughter was in the lacrosse world. So you'll appreciate this. She was in high school, and the coach, she was a super, I mean, she was number one in the country. I mean, she was the number one player. So
Amazing.
and there was a coach, and she was, I think the underdog coaches have a hard time with the stars, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
And it was really hard for me. And I sat in the stands quietly in James, the book of James. I know that book way too well. It's all about what you're saying. It's be quiet, don't speak, don't say anything. And I was so meek. What a disservice to God when everything in the Bible is like, be bold, be courageous.
Right. Right.
Everything is to be a warrior for him. It doesn't mean be quiet. It means be bold in him. So I know it's kind of all over the place, but it's impossible to be prideful if you truly believe it is from him. And when you
That's
start,
good.
and if you don't really believe it's from him, start acting as if it is. Pretend. Just start acting like you really believe everything is from him, and you'd be amazing how your heart shifts. And I'm going to say
Yeah.
this again for the people in the back. Like I do this thing and it's like, I don't care if you believe in God. Steal his truth because it works. Okay? God's word is the treasure map that the world is seeking. It kills me to look at what we're doing with self-help when I'm like, are you kidding me? We have the self-help book of all self-helps. It's the number one seller. The whole world knows it. They're just afraid of it, right? So I just feel like, I don't know where I was going with that again. Oh my gosh, I have to.
No, but it's so true. And I think the through line of all of this, and I've loved this conversation because I think for me, it's like the journey for me from being so like involved and approach with self-help into now navigating and like maturing in faith and realizing like Jesus literally told his followers basically you have to die to yourself. Like it's dying to yourself every day. And
And you don't have to be perfect. He doesn't care. Like
no,
when I was
no.
when I was through that phase and I was meek in the stands, now as I'm older and I'm wiser, right? But you have to understand, back then that's where he wanted me. So
Right.
you have to accept, if you're struggling with trying to find it, Annie, maybe that's I call it the kryptonite. He's always got me in what my kryptonite is. That now it's the let them theory. But back then I was in James all the time and it was making me meek. But there was a reason.
There's a
There was a
reason.
reason, because now I'm bold, but
Yeah.
I know how to stand in meekness. I know the people. I know how to meet them where they're at and how they're feeling in that phase.
Yeah.
So, but I love that we have to get through to people, Annie. And I don't even know if we have to get through to people that they think they have to do works to get in. Did you ever see, and I'm sure you've seen this, the video of, there's like this meter and it's like you're in heaven or you're not. And there people are lined up and,
No, I haven't seen it.
oh my God, they're like, oh, well, I donated $3,000 a week in the church box. And I did this. And he's like, okay, you're going to hell. Nope. And
Yeah.
then this guy walks up, and it's like a line of 100 people, and it's nope. And they're like, all of these people are like, well, I did this and I did that, and
Yeah.
I helped this person. And he's like, nope. And then this one guy, filthy as can be, he's like, oh God, I drink, I smoke, I cuss like a this, and you know, I wasn't very good to my wife. And he's like, but I believed in you. And he's like, okay, come on in. Like,
Yeah.
people have got to stop with this Catholic guilt thing. I
Mm.
mean, and I was raised on it. Why? Because God wanted me to know in this phase of my life how those people feel so that I can come up with a way to say to them, you have to let that go. God doesn't care. So, oh, great. When I finally said to my kids, hey, guys, God doesn't care. God, it's not about the sin. You're always like, I'm so sorry. God, it's okay if you've sinned. Like, Christianity is tough because God doesn't care if we sin. He forgives our future sins. He knows we're going to sin. He used the biggest sinners in the Bible to do the greatest things. He knows we're going to sin. And people are like, oh, good. The girls are like, oh, so can I go out and sin? I'm like, here's the difference. Yes. But when you have God, you don't want to.
You don't want
That's
to.
when you know.
Yeah.
So, people have got to get over it. And if they feel like they're still sinning, it's okay. They're in their walk, but they have to surrender themselves to God, and they have to say, you know what, God, I do believe in you and I'm open. Show me, meet me where I'm at, and let him transform you like he does you and I, and bring people of different phases together.
That's so good. And that word transform, I think, is key because it's not a one-time process. It's a like sanctification. When you accept Jesus Christ into your heart and that's salvation, that's one moment. That's done. But the process of looking like Jesus is a lifetime run.
But
That
people don't understand what that means either. They don't know what it means to be saved. Thank you for saving me for my sins that I don't commit because I'm not a bad person. Nobody appreciates that. Nobody gets it. We have to change the word sin sometimes. And we have to say, we look at sinners as like that Coldplay. Remember the Coldplay affair? Right? People were loving that. They were like, they couldn't wait to point out their sin because they felt so much better about it. At least I'm not like them.
yeah.
Really, because I sin 15 times a day and I love the Lord. Like, anytime I think of something lustful, I'm not saying I do, I've been married 150 years, but I'm just saying people think lust, or they think, what about jealousy or gossip? When I'm in a conversation, is it easier for me to be like, oh no, she's wonderful, or be like, oh, I know, she pissed me off? Like, God sees those sins just as much as he sees the affair, just as much as he sees murder. So people have to recognize when he takes away our sins, I want people to think, you mean they just don't believe it? Okay, yeah, he's going to take away my jealousy. I am such a jealous person. Yeah, he takes that away. He's going to take my anger. There are people that just want to fight. They're fighters. They're so angry. Yeah, that's why you can't attract blessing into your life. You repel it. When you have anger, when you have bitterness, when you have pride, when you have jealousy, all of the things that the world, comparison, hello, when you covet,
Yeah.
all we do with our phones, when you have those things, you repel blessing.
Yeah.
So here comes this guy, you're carrying like all these groceries. He's like, hey, can I take those for you? He takes them from you. You don't feel them anymore. All of a sudden, you're attractive.
Hmm.
So, you're just a light, and it says it in the Bible. The light attracts, but people are like bugs to you.
Yeah, it's true.
And it attracts abundance. People
Yeah,
don't go to the Lord because they think they have to go live in a tent. And
right.
and that was my biggest struggle for a long time, is I'd feel bad having nice things. And then, the Lord's like, okay, he gave me a I don't know what message it was, but it was something like, if he gives crows, I'm going to botch this, but at least I know the idea. If he gives crows morsels of seeds, won't he give his own daughter like bread? Like he's not, it's like, do I want my kids to have nice things? This is God. He wants us to have nice things, but
Yeah,
he won't give them to us if we idolize them more than him. So
that's good. That's good.
if we love him first, we'll get the abundance.
Yeah,
We
that's
love
so
the
good.
abundance so we don't get it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I understand people enough to know that's what they're interested in. And that's why I say steal the truth. You want nice things? Okay. I'll show you how to get nice things. Steal God's truth. You don't even have to believe in him. Start looking. Use when he says be kind instead of me. Just do it because you want something. I don't care. Be an
yeah,
opportunist and start using his way instead of the world's way, and see if
yeah,
he can bring you abundance. What's going
yeah.
to happen is they're going to change and they're going to get the abundance, but they're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's like the 9 day. This is why he had me doing isogenics. He had me tricking them with the 9 day.
Hmm.
They didn't care about being healthy, Annie. They just wanted to lose weight. But then they felt good and they were like, oh my gosh, I want to keep doing this. That's why he did that, because I'm tricking people. I'm saying, steal his truth. I'm like the Robin Hood of the truth. I don't care if you don't believe in him. Just start using his principles. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
attracts abundance to you.
It is so cool though to see how it just reminds me of Romans 8:28, how God uses all things for good. Because it's true. It's like even in your story, but in seasons. And like you're talking about in the season where you were reading James, it was the season where you were needing to learn and sympathize with being meek. But then now it's like being able to walk in that boldness and courage. And I think it's just letting yourself be in the season that God has you. And even a verse that's been kind of on my heart recently is just be still and know that I'm God. And what's interesting about that word,
It's hard for both of us.
yes, very hard. But what's interesting about that word still, because it bothered me so much, I looked up the Hebrew meaning of it, and it doesn't mean sit or don't move. It actually means let go. Let go.
Oh my gosh, you
So,
just nailed on something. That's why it's very hard for people to read the Bible. You have to discern what you're reading, because it's a hot mess. Like, a lot of it is parables and they don't literally mean what it means.
right,
So
right.
it really frustrates me when the church is like, go read the Bible. I'm like, yeah, well, everybody's like sleeping with their cousin's brother who's murdering. Like,
I think that's the truth.
just go read the Bible. I am sorry. I don't agree with that.
It's
Like, oh, but
crazy.
God will lead them. I'm like, really? Because my niece and nephew were like,
Oh, yeah.
off his head.
Guidance is good. Guidance is good. It's
Most of the
crazier than
Bible
your
is
raunchy
just
Netflix show.
trying to show us that we're sinners
Yes.
innately and we need saving because we're pathetic.
Yeah.
So you go and you're reading the Bible and you're like, I don't get it. You don't get that most of the Bible is showing us sin to show us we need to change.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
my only reason I say that is because I think you had said something and you're like, oh my gosh. And I was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't mean that. Almost every line in the Bible is like that. And that's why, again, that's why he didn't give me the gift of getting high SAT score. He gave me C's get degrees.
Me too. Me too.
And I always got into schools and whatever I needed by loving on people. And then they just had to take me. But the reason is because the best teacher is a slow learner. And I understand what people don't know. I understand because I am too worldly for the church. I know what it feels like to be uncomfortable raising your hand. I know what it feels like to feel stupid to saying, what do you mean? Like, nobody wants to be like, oh, okay. I say it like, oh, okay, thanks, dude. Thanks for saving me for my sins. I'm not even a bad person. Like, not for anything. It's okay that you feel that way. I felt that way too. And here's why you know how long it took me to really get that? But when you get it, when you see it, Annie, you can't unsee it.
Yeah,
You
no,
can't
it's true.
unsee it.
It's striking. And like you said, I think we were all designed and fashioned and we go through experiences under God's sovereign will for our life to be able to connect with other of his children that are struggling with similar things we struggle. I'm the same way in that I really struggled through school. In order to make it through school, I got really good at coming up with analogies for things because it's the only way I could remember stuff. And what's so funny now is like you think about writing books or like all I do is coming up with analogies for why the Bible is saying this or that in the way that someone can understand it.
I
And so,
like we are, because I wrote a book too, and
yeah,
it's called Launch Your Rocket. And everybody's like, why? Where is it? And I'm like, why? I never promoted it. It was always, God always had me in a holding pattern. And it's because it was listen, it has faith, but it has a chapter on faith. So it's the law of attraction, right? I talk a lot. The law of attraction is true and it's amazing and it works. If people only believed the law of attraction, right? Do you hear about the law of attraction with like
I
manifestation?
don't know too much about it. I mean, in the sense that it's like you attract what you put
Right.
out.
I
Energy.
love it. They're like, law of attraction, like some guru discovered that what you think about, you bring about. And they're like, oh, you manifest from the universe. And I'm like looking at
The
people
Bible
like,
said this
I'm
all
like,
that while ago.
right. You went to Harvard. You went to your big flipping deal. The reason it works is because it's God's law. Yes. And then the Bible people, Annie, say, oh my God, why are you talking about the law of attraction? And I'm like, the world gets mad. Like it's so backwards.
It's
Bible people, stop getting mad at the manifestation people. Just tell them that they stole God's truth and they slapped a sticker on it to sell some brands, but the reason it works is because God created it. Like,
yes. No, it's so true. And I think it goes back to the object of what you are like God says, meditate on my word day and night. It's like that's what you're so this
as
is Jen, this has gone so
right?
fast. I am just like, I wish I could have you on for 6 hours.
Oh gosh.
I feel like I just met my older sister. You're amazing. Where can people find you? Your YouTube, your course? Where can people find you?
Yeah. Everything is Launch Your Rocket, which, by the way, I'm sorry, Mel Robbins tried to get. But I have this domain for 15 years ago. But Launch Your Rocket is everything. And I'm on, YouTube. I have a website, Launch Your Rocket. Annie, what I have that everybody should take is a course called Bible 101. It's amazing. It's like, what is this guy Jesus? Why would I even care? What Bible? I love that one. What Bible do I read? What do you mean, what Bible? Isn't there only one? Yeah, but do you know Greek? Because I don't read Greek and I want to understand it. And then you have the Bible people like, oh, don't read translation. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what thou shalt yao means.
I love this. Yeah.
So, it's what Bible do I read? What do I buy? And then I go through almost like cliff notes of like, there's this guy Moses, right? And and I give the stories that in CCD I was throwing spitballs at the woman and I have no idea. So I kind of go through the Bible. So it's free. Amazing. God's word is free. So that's on there. It's B101. Everybody in the world should take that because it's good.
Well, I will put it in the show notes so everybody can quickly link to the Bible 101 course. But Jen, thank you so much for being on. You are such a delight. You are shining so much light for the generations that are coming after you, but also just where you're planted right now. And it is so fun to watch from afar.
It was so much fun, Annie. I feel like I could talk to you forever. I love it.
I know. All right. Until next time. Thanks so much, Made to Shine fam.